My name is Rosaline Pierce and I am 36 years old. 5 months ago, I sat in a solicitor's office and watched my parents transfer everything to my brother, the house, the family firm, the inheritance fund, while I received nothing. You've always been the stubborn one, Rosa, my mother said, her voice clipped and final. My brother Daniel smiled at the table. The solicitor said nothing. I stood up, looked at Daniel, and walked out without a single word. Last week, my phone lit up with 51 missed calls. When I finally answered, my mother was in pieces. The Financial Crimes Unit had shown up at Daniel's office. She wept. They're talking about fraud. Rosa, what did he do with the money? I hadn't touched a single pound. But my brother, the one who was handed everything, had made choices that were about to cost him more than he had ever imagined. Before I tell you how we got here, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story genuinely moves you. And I'd love to know, where are you watching from? What time is it there? Leave it in the comments. Let me take you back to where it all started. Growing up, I was always the one who didn't quite fit in my own family. Daniel was 3 years older, and from the time I could form memories, he was the one everyone revolved around. When he finished secondary school, my parents held a celebration with nearly 80 guests. When I finished 4 years later, with distinction, we had Sunday roast at a local pub, just the four of us. When Daniel decided to stay home and help run my father's small joinery and carpentry company, my parents bought him a reliable car and helped cover a flat in the town center. When I announced I'd earned a place at Northgate University to study finance, my mother sighed and said, "We can't stretch to fees, Rosa. You understand that, don't you?" I understood. I took out loans, worked 2 part-time jobs, and graduated with a first-class degree. My parents did not attend the ceremony. "We can't shut the business for a whole weekend," my mother explained over the phone. "Daniel can't manage everything by himself." Daniel had posted photographs from a weekend in the Lake District, that very same Friday. I moved to the city, qualified as a chartered accountant, and built my career. I paid off my debts steadily, entirely on my own. I rang home every Sunday. I sent birthday cards. I made the journey back whenever the cost of the coach was manageable, but every conversation followed the same pattern. "How's Daniel getting on?" my mother would ask before I'd even finished saying hello. "He's been putting in such long hours at the firm." Then, almost as an afterthought, "How are you keeping, Rosa?" "Fine, Mum." "That's good. Daniel really could do with more support, you know. He's carrying a lot." The message was always the same. Daniel had stayed, Daniel had committed, Daniel mattered. I was simply the one who had left. 2 years before the solicitor's meeting, I tried to help. My mother rang me in a panic about year-end accounts and HMRC deadlines. "Rosa, you're an accountant. Can you look over the books? We're completely behind." I took annual leave that weekend and made the journey home at my own expense. I sat at the kitchen table with the firm's records spread across it. That's when I noticed something that didn't add up. Several large cash withdrawals made across 14 months, totaling nearly £75,000. No receipts, no invoices, just the words "company expenses" written in Daniel's handwriting beside each entry. I found my mother in the sitting room. "Mum, I need to ask about these withdrawals. Where did this money go?" Her expression closed immediately. "That's firm business, Rosa." "I know, but if HMRC opens an inquiry, you'll need documentation. These entries won't hold up." Daniel walked in, arms folded. "Are you going through our private accounts?" "Mum asked me to help with the books." "Helping with accounts doesn't mean interrogating us," Daniel said sharply. "You don't work here, Rosa. You don't get to dictate how things are run." I kept my voice level. "I'm saying that £75,000 in undocumented withdrawals is a serious liability. That's a fact." My mother stood up. "This is exactly the problem with you, Rosa. You come in here for one afternoon and immediately start finding fault. I'm trying to protect you." "We don't need protecting," Daniel cut in. "We've been running this business for 20 years. I closed the folder. "Fine, I just wanted to flag it." My mother's tone softened fractionally, but her words still landed hard. "You mean well, Rosa, but you've always been a worrier. Everything is perfectly fine." I left the following morning. I never raised it again. The letter arrived on a Wednesday in February. Headed paper. Graham Whitmore, solicitor. Dear Miss Pierce, your parents have requested your attendance at a formal family meeting to discuss estate matters. The meeting is scheduled for Thursday, the 9th of March at 11:00 a.m. at our offices in Harrogate. Please confirm your availability. I stared at the page. Estate matters. My father was 67 and in good health. My mother was 63 and walked 5 miles every morning. Why were we discussing estates now? I texted Daniel, "Do you know what this meeting is about?" 4 hours passed, no reply. I called my mother that evening. "Mum, I've received a letter from a solicitor. Is everything all right? Is someone ill?" "No one's ill," she said briskly. "We just need to go over some family business. Can you be there on Thursday?" "I'll need to take the day off work. Can you tell me what?" "Thursday at 11, Rosa. Please don't be late." She rang off. I booked the train, arranged the time away from the office, and tried Daniel twice more. Voicemail both times. On the journey north, I ran through the possibilities. Perhaps they were finally formalizing the pension arrangements. Perhaps they were considering selling the firm. Perhaps, and this thought made something tighten in my chest, they were finally addressing what Grandma Vera's will had actually instructed. My grandmother had passed away 4 years ago. She had spent decades carefully building a trust. At the funeral, her solicitor had mentioned something about equal provision for both grandchildren. My parents had handled the administration, and I had been too raw with grief to ask questions at the time. Perhaps, finally, things were being put right. I should have known better. Graham Whitmore's offices were above a building society on a quiet street off the market square. I arrived 12 minutes early. The receptionist directed me to the second floor without looking up. "Pierce meeting, room 2, the others are already inside." Already inside, of course they were. I walked down a narrow corridor. Through the glass panel in the door, I could already see them. My parents and Daniel, seated at an oval table, relaxed, mid-conversation, coffee in front of them, a stack of folders arranged between them and the solicitor. No one had waited. I opened the door. "Rosa, you managed to make it," my father said. "Not good to see you. Not thank you for coming all this way, just a statement of fact." "Hello, Dad, Mum, Daniel." My mother gave a short nod. Daniel looked at the wall. Graham Whitmore extended his hand. "Miss Pierce, please do sit down." He gestured to the chair positioned furthest from the others. Empty table in front of it, nothing prepared, no folder, no coffee, nothing. I sat. Whitmore cleared his throat and adjusted his reading glasses. My mother and Daniel exchanged a brief glance. My father studied the folder in front of him without speaking. "Thank you all for attending," Whitmore began. "We are here today to finalize the formal distribution of assets as instructed by Mr. and Mrs. Gerald Pierce." My stomach tightened. The family property at 14 Alderton Close, valued at approximately £580,000, is to be transferred to Daniel Robert Pierce. That was the house I had grown up in, the house where Grandma Vera had lived with us during her final years. Pierce Carpentry and Joinery, including all assets, equipment, and client contracts, is also to be transferred to Daniel Robert Pierce. Daniel reached for his coffee. His expression was carefully composed. Additionally, the family trust fund, currently valued at £650,000, is to pass to Daniel Robert Pierce as sole beneficiary and administrator. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. Whitmore turned the page. "And for Rosaline Catherine Pierce," he paused, scanning the document, "no assets have been designated at this time." The silence was immense. "I beg your pardon," my voice came out smaller than I intended. My mother spoke before the solicitor could. "Rosa, we've given this a great deal of thought as a family. This is what makes sense." I wasn't part of that conversation. "Daniel has been here," my father said quietly, still looking at the folder. "He has committed to the business. He has been present." "And I haven't," my voice cracked slightly. "I went to university. I built a career." My mother sighed. "You chose to leave, Rosa. Daniel chose family." I felt my hands go cold. "Mum, I didn't choose to leave. I went to university. That's not the same thing." "You left when the family needed you," she said, firm now. Daniel stayed and gave up opportunities to be here. That means something. Stayed and was given everything, I said. And I received nothing? Grandma Vera's trust was meant to be split equally. I remember her solicitor saying that at the funeral. The room went very quiet. My mother's jaw tightened. That money was absorbed into family running costs. The business, the house, things that benefited everyone. That benefited Daniel and you and Dad, I said, not me. You have a good income, Daniel said finally. You don't need it. That isn't the point. My voice was shaking and I hated it. This isn't about need, it's about fairness. Family is about being present, my mother cut in. You've always been difficult, Rosa, always picking things apart. The word landed like a stone. Difficult. I'm difficult because I asked where £75,000 went, because I got a degree and a job. You're difficult because everything becomes a problem with you, my mother said. When we needed you, you were in Leeds. When the business was struggling, you were busy with your own affairs. Daniel has never once let us down. My father nodded slowly. We need continuity, Rosa, reliability. I thought about the loans I had repaid alone, the graduation they had missed, the Christmas I had worked extra hours to afford the coach fare home and spent the entire visit listening to updates about Daniel's achievements. We hope you'll come to understand, my mother added, her voice shifting into something almost pitying. This is what is best for everyone. I looked at Daniel. He was staring at the table. Have you anything to say? I asked him. He glanced up briefly. Mum and Dad have decided. No defense, no hesitation, nothing. I stood up. Whitmore startled slightly. Miss Pierce, you do have the right to review the documentation. No, thank you, I said quietly. I understand the situation. Rosa, don't make a scene, my mother said. I'm not making a scene, I'm leaving. I picked up my bag and turned to Daniel. He looked uncomfortable now, shifting in his seat. I looked at him steadily. I hope this all works out for you, Daniel. His eyes flickered. Rosa, I mean it, I said. I genuinely do. My father stood. You're acting as though we've treated you unjustly. This is a practical decision. The firm needs someone at the helm. And Daniel has the house, the firm, and the inheritance, I finished. I understand, Dad. I looked at my mother one last time. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't entirely name, something between irritation and unease. You're being childish, she said. Perhaps. I walked to the door, then paused. Just so I'm clear, Grandma Vera's trust. She left it equally to Daniel and me. I remember her telling me herself. What actually happened to my half? Complete stillness in the room. My mother's expression hardened. I've told you, family expenses, the house, the firm, things that kept everything running. I nodded slowly. Right, the family. I opened the door. Rosa, my mother's voice sharp now, don't leave like this, you're not the victim here. I looked back at her. I'm not acting like anything, Mum. I'm going home. I closed the door behind me. The corridor was quiet. My hands were shaking, but my eyes were dry. I sat in my hire car for nearly half an hour before I could start the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. You're overreacting. Call me when you've calmed down. I turned the phone face down and drove to the station. On the train back, something my mother had said kept returning to me. That money went toward family expenses, but that was not what Grandma Vera had said. I remembered the conversation precisely. I had been 30, still carrying debt, still working to establish myself. Grandma Vera had been 81, sharp-minded and direct to the last. She had pulled me aside at her 80th birthday gathering, just the two of us in the hallway outside the sitting room. I've arranged a trust for you and Daniel, she had said, holding both my hands. Equal shares. I want you both to have something solid. Gran, you don't have to do that. It's done, sweetheart. My solicitor has everything in order. $250,000 each. I need to know you'll be all right. I had hugged her. Thank you, truly. Use it wisely, Rosa. You're the sensible one. I've always known that. At the funeral, her solicitor, not Graham Whitmore, someone else entirely, had mentioned the trust briefly in passing. My parents had stepped in and taken over everything, telling me not to worry and that they would handle the details. I had been too hollowed out by grief to push for more. I had trusted them. By the time I was on the train home, something had solidified in me. When I arrived back in Leeds, I went straight to my desk and opened my old emails. Grandma Vera's solicitor had sent me a courtesy copy of something shortly after the funeral. I had barely looked at it at the time, but I had archived everything. I searched 41 results, birthday messages, a recipe she had forwarded, scanned photographs. Then, dated 3 weeks after her death, I found it. Subject: estate documentation. From Patricia Holroyd, Holroyd Wills and Probate. Dear Miss Pierce, per your grandmother's instructions, please find enclosed a copy of her last will and testament for your personal records. If you have any questions regarding distribution of her estate, please do not hesitate to contact our office. I clicked the attachment, 27 pages. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Page 14, Clause 8, Trust Distribution. The sum of £500,000 held in trust at Barclays Private shall be divided equally between my grandchildren Rosaline Catherine Pierce and Daniel Robert Pierce, each receiving a sum of £250,000. This distribution shall be effected no later than 90 days following the date of my death. To be administered by Patricia Holroyd, solicitor. No later than 90 days. 4 years ago, I had not received a single penny, not a letter, not a phone call, not an explanation. I printed the document. I labeled the folder Grand's Will and put it in the drawer of my filing cabinet. Then I sat in my flat in the dark for a long time. 3 weeks after the solicitor's meeting, Daniel posted on social media a photograph of himself in front of my childhood home, holding a glass of something sparkling. The caption read, "Officially ours. So grateful to Mum and Dad for trusting me with what we've built together. Family above everything." 47 likes, comments flooding in. You deserve every bit of this, Daniel. So proud of you, mate. Your grandparents would be so proud. That last one from our Aunt Sylvia made me stop. I stared at it for a long time. A message arrived from an old school friend, Harriet. "Hey Rosa, I saw Daniel's post. Did your parents give him the family home? Are you all right?" I typed and deleted 3 different replies before settling on, "Fine, family things are complicated. Happy for him." Harriet replied within minutes, "If you need to talk, I'm here." I liked the message but didn't respond. Over the following weeks, Daniel posted continuously. A photograph of his new office at the firm. A picture of documents bearing the trust fund letterhead. A selfie with our parents captioned, "Grateful every day for their belief in me." Not one image featured me. Not one caption mentioned my name. It was as though I had been quietly removed from the record. My mother shared every post with additions of her own. So proud of my boy. I didn't unfollow them. I didn't comment. I didn't react. But I did screenshot everything, not because I intended to use it, but because I needed something solid to confirm that what was happening was real. 1 month later, my parents held a celebration. I discovered it the same way as everyone else. Daniel filmed a video and posted it. Fairy lights across the back garden, long tables covered in food, upwards of 40 people, and a banner across the porch. "Congratulations, Daniel, Managing Director." Managing Director. My brother was now officially head of Pierce Carpentry and Joinery. I watched the video twice. There was my father raising a glass, my mother beaming beside Daniel, Graham Whitmore, the solicitor, chatting with our cousin Marcus. Family friends, people I had grown up knowing. Nobody had told me. The comments celebrated. "What a brilliant evening. Daniel, the future is yours, so glad I was there for this." My cousin Lydia commented, "Was Rosa there?" "I didn't see her," Daniel replied. "She's really snowed under with work in Leeds. Couldn't get away." I stared at that lie. Couldn't get away, as though I had been invited and simply declined. My mother didn't correct him. In the video, Daniel gave a brief speech. "None of this would have happened without Mum and Dad," he said, voice catching. "They gave me everything when I needed it most. I won't let them down." My father put an arm around him. People clapped. I sat in my flat in Leeds, watching my family celebrate the formal conclusion of my removal from their lives. My phone stayed completely silent that night. No text, no call, No wish you could have been here. I turned off my phone and went to bed. 3 months after the solicitor's meeting, Daniel rang me. We hadn't spoken since I had walked out of Whitmore's office. His name appearing on my screen was enough to make me pause. I almost didn't answer. Rosa, an awkward start. Daniel, what do you need? A short, uncomfortable laugh. Straight to the point. Fair enough. Look, I need to ask you something. It's fairly urgent. I waited. The roof on the house needs full replacement. Structural issue. It can't wait. I need to borrow £20,000. I sat very still. You need to borrow £20,000 from me. Temporarily, 6 months tops, I'll pay you back with interest. Daniel, you have a trust fund valued at £650,000. Silence. Daniel. The money it's committed right now. Some investments I've made. Excellent prospects, but not accessible immediately. What kind of investments? That's not really relevant to the conversation, Rosa. You're asking me for £20,000, but you won't tell me why you can't access your own money. I'm asking because you're my sister and I need help. An edge was creeping into his voice. Do you want the roof to cave in on Mum and Dad? I thought the house was yours now. You know what I meant. I exhaled slowly. Daniel, I don't have £20,000 sitting in an account I can move to you. You earn good money. You're a chartered accountant. I also have a mortgage, professional indemnity insurance, and my own expenses. I'm not a bank. You've always been selfish, Rosa. You know that. It was such a familiar line that it almost made me laugh. I'll keep that in mind. Good luck with the roof. I ended the call. 4 months after the solicitor's meeting, a number I didn't recognize rang my mobile on a Thursday afternoon. Is this Rosaline Pierce? Yes, who's calling? My name is Patricia Holroyd. I'm a solicitor. I administered your grandmother Vera Pierce's estate. I sat up straight. Grandma Vera's solicitor. I'm contacting you because we have been conducting a formal review of asset distributions following your grandmother's death. According to the trust documentation, you were designated to receive £250,000. I need to confirm whether that distribution was completed. My heart began to beat faster. No, I received nothing. Not a single communication, not a transfer, nothing. My parents told me the money had gone toward family costs. A pause, then the sound of typing. Miss Pierce, the trust documentation is unambiguous. That money was designated specifically to you and your brother individually. It was not available for general family use. I have a copy of the will, I said. You sent me a courtesy copy 4 years ago. I still have it. Good, please retain that. Miss Pierce, did you sign any document releasing your entitlement to those funds? No, no one ever asked me to sign anything. Were you contacted at any point by my office or by the bank regarding the distribution? Never. My parents told me they had dealt with everything. Patricia Holroyd was quiet for a moment. This is a matter of serious concern. According to our records, the full trust sum was transferred to your father as trustee, with explicit instruction to distribute your portion within 90 days. That was 4 years ago. What happens now? I will need to formally contact your parents and their solicitor. And Miss Pierce, there may be some further complications. What sort of complications? She hesitated. I've identified some unusual activity in the trust account that was passed to your brother. Significant withdrawals, transfers to accounts I don't recognize. There may be tax and legal consequences. I can't say more until I've looked further into it. My stomach dropped. Daniel's words came back to me. The money is committed. Investments. Miss Pierce, I want to be absolutely clear. You have done nothing wrong here. You are the injured party. My intention is to ensure you receive what your grandmother intended for you. What do I need to do? Nothing yet. I'll handle the legal contact, but I do need your permission to act on your behalf. You have it. One further thing. Please don't discuss any of this with your family. If there are legal issues developing, I don't want anyone altering records or moving money before we've had a chance to establish the full picture. Understood. I sat at my desk for a long time after the call ended. I had not gone looking for a fight. I had not wanted revenge or confrontation. I had simply wanted to understand what had happened to what my grandmother had left me. Now the truth was coming of its own accord. And something told me Daniel's investments were about to become a great deal more than a family problem. Let me stop here for a moment. If this story is resonating with you, if you've ever had to choose between staying quiet and demanding what was rightfully yours, let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if this is speaking to something in your own life, please hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely makes a difference. Now let's get to what happened next, because this is where everything changed. 6 months after the solicitor's meeting, it all came apart. I was in the middle of reviewing a client's quarterly projections when my phone began going off. Once, twice, 5 times in quick succession, I left it face down. The client needed my attention, but it kept going. When the meeting wrapped an hour later, I picked it up. 63 missed calls, 14 from my mother, 9 from my father, and 40 from Daniel. 19 text messages. The most recent from my mother, sent 4 minutes ago. Rosa, answer your phone, please, this is serious. I scrolled through them. Daniel, ring me, now. Daniel, Rosa, please. Mum, something has happened, call me. Dad, pick up Rosa. Daniel, the fraud office is here, please call me. My heart went still. I stepped into the corridor and called my mother back. She answered immediately. Rosa, oh thank God. Mum, what's happening? She was crying, not politely, genuinely gasping. They're at Daniel's office right now, officers from the Financial Crimes Unit. They've brought a warrant. They're taking computers, all the files, everything. Why, what are they saying? Fraud, money laundering. Rosa, what did Daniel do with that money? He said it was investments. I gripped the wall. Mum, I haven't touched any of this. I don't know anything about Daniel's financial affairs. But Daniel said, he said you must have reported him. He said you went to someone. I didn't report anyone, I said carefully. I haven't contacted any authority. Then how did they find out? I don't know. My mother's breathing was ragged. They're questioning him. They've shown him documents, account numbers, transfers. Jen, they mentioned something about a scheme, an international scheme. Daniel keeps saying he didn't know. I heard my father's voice in the background, sharp and frightened. Rosa, you're a chartered accountant. You work with auditors. Can you come? Can you help him explain that he didn't understand what he was involved in? Mum, I kept my voice as level as I could. I cannot help with this. I don't know what Daniel has or hasn't done, and getting involved would put me at serious professional risk. He's your brother. I know he is, and I hope he gets proper legal representation immediately. Criminal defense, not a family solicitor. Please call someone today. Criminal, she started weeping again. My father's voice came through more clearly. Margaret, the solicitor said not to speak to anyone. Get off the phone. This is our daughter. Mum, I said, you need to ring a lawyer. That's the most helpful thing I can tell you. I ended the call. I searched the news immediately. A report had gone up 40 minutes earlier from a regional outlet. Financial crimes officers executed a search warrant this morning at the offices of a Harrogate business as part of an investigation into suspected money laundering and investment fraud. The individual at the center of the inquiry is alleged to have transferred in excess of £500,000 into accounts connected to an international fraud operation. Officers are investigating the extent of the individual's knowledge and involvement. The name had not been released. £500,000. The trust fund had been £650,000. I called Patricia Hallraid. Miss Pierce, I was about to ring you. Her voice was composed and measured. I expect you've seen or heard something. My mother just called, officers at Daniel's office. Yes, the Financial Crimes Unit contacted me yesterday to verify the terms of your grandmother's trust. I confirmed your entitlement and provided documentation confirming you had received nothing. You are not under any suspicion. I exhaled. What happened? From what I understand, your brother was approached by individuals representing what appeared to be a private investment fund. He transferred a substantial portion of the trust into their accounts. The fund was a vehicle for international fraud. Did he know? That is precisely what the investigation will determine. If he had no knowledge of the nature of the scheme, he is a victim. If there is evidence he was involved in facilitating transfers or ignored clear warning signs, he faces criminal exposure. That evening, Daniel rang me himself. His voice was raw, unsteady. Nothing like the composed, detached person who had sat at that solicitor's table and said nothing while I was handed nothing. "Rosa, I need your help, please." "Daniel." "I didn't know, I promise you I didn't know. This man, he called himself Hargreaves, Marcus Hargreaves. He had a registered office, references, a portfolio of previous investors. Everything looked legitimate." "Did you verify any of it? Did you check with Companies House, with the FCA?" Silence. "Did you get independent financial advice before you transferred £500,000? A longer silence. "He said the window was narrow. He said if I delayed, the fund would close." I closed my eyes. The oldest trick in any fraud, artificial urgency. "Rosa, they're saying I could be charged. My solicitor says if I cooperate fully I may avoid a custodial sentence, but I need to pay back what I can and the costs alone," his voice broke. "I need to borrow money. The house will have to go. The firm may have to go. Rosa, please." "Daniel," I kept my voice even. 2 years ago, I sat in Mum and Dad's kitchen and told them something was wrong with the company accounts. I told them there were tens of thousands of pounds that couldn't be traced. Do you remember what happened? Silence. "You told me I was poking around where I wasn't welcome. Mum said I was a worrier. You all threw me out of the room." "That was different." "Was it? Because from where I'm standing, you were taking money from the firm then, and nobody wanted to hear it. And now there are officers in your office, and you want me to step in and explain that you didn't know what you were doing." "I'm asking because you're my sister." "You're asking because you're frightened and I'm the only one with professional knowledge who might be able to help you. That's not the same thing." He started crying. "I could go to prison." "Then you need a very good criminal barrister, and you need to cooperate fully with the investigation. That's my honest advice. It's the only advice I can give you." I hung up. My father called the following morning, controlled on the surface, but underneath something I had never quite heard from him before. Fear. "Rosa, we need to discuss what you're going to say if you're contacted." "I haven't been contacted, and I don't expect to be. I'm not involved in Daniel's finances in any way." "You could put in a word. You could speak to someone and explain that Daniel isn't a bad person." "Dad, that's not how fraud investigations work. Character isn't relevant, evidence is." "You could help us look through the documentation, make sense of it." "I'm a chartered accountant, not a forensic investigator. And getting involved in the documentation of someone under criminal investigation would expose me to enormous professional risk." His voice hardened. "You're choosing to do nothing while your brother faces prison." "I tried to help 2 years ago," I said. "I drove up to Harrogate at my own expense and spent a weekend going through those books. I told you what I found. All of you shut me down. You called me paranoid. You told me to stop making problems. Do you remember that?" He didn't answer. "I was excluded from every family decision, Dad. I received nothing from Grandma Vera's trust. I wasn't even given a folder to look at in that solicitor's office. And now you're calling me to clean up what has happened. I'm sorry, but I can't do that." His voice went cold. "You've become very hard, Rosa." "No, Dad, I've become honest." He ended the call. That evening, I sat at my desk and drafted a message. To Gerald Pierce, Margaret Pierce, Daniel Pierce. Subject, my position. Mum, Dad, Daniel. I want to be clear about where I stand. I am not involved in Daniel's financial decisions or the investigation into them. I have not reported anyone to any authority. I have only provided truthful and accurate information to my grandmother's solicitor when they contacted me directly. I understand this is an extraordinarily difficult time. I am genuinely sorry that Daniel is in this position, and I do not wish harm on any of you. However, I am not in a position to get involved in a criminal investigation. Doing so would risk my professional standing and potentially my livelihood. I am also not able to offer financial assistance. 2 years ago, I tried to help this family and was told I was creating problems. I tried to be part of this family's future and was told it wasn't my place. I was given nothing from Grandma Vera's estate and excluded from every decision. I am not raising that now to score points. I am raising it because you need to understand why I am protecting myself and why that is a reasonable thing to do. I hope you find the right legal support. I hope Daniel cooperates fully. I hope this resolves as fairly as it can. But I won't be part of it. Rosa. My mother replied within minutes, I expected better from you. My father said nothing. Daniel wrote, I'll never forget that you did this. I closed the laptop. 2 months later, the outcome was reported publicly. Daniel Robert Pierce, 39, of Harrogate, has entered a guilty plea in connection with participation in a fraudulent investment scheme. Pierce transferred £520,000 from a family trust into accounts linked to an international money laundering operation. His legal team submitted that he had been manipulated by experienced fraudsters and had no knowledge of the criminal nature of the scheme. In mitigation, the court accepted his full cooperation with investigators. He was sentenced to no custodial time, but received a substantial financial penalty, 500 hours of community service, and a 5-year ban from managing investment funds. The family home and business have been placed on the market to meet legal costs and restitution. I read it twice, then I set my phone down and sat quietly for a while. No prison, that was something. But my brother's life as he had constructed it was gone. The firm my father had spent 30 years building, the house where I had grown up, the trust my grandmother had carefully saved across decades, all of it gone. And my family's standing in the community they had lived in for 30 years, quietly, irrevocably altered. I checked and found that Daniel had deleted his social media accounts. My mother's were still visible, but locked to public view. The congratulatory posts from the party were gone. An email arrived from Aunt Sylvia. I always felt something was off, Rosa. I'm sorry you were pushed aside the way you were. You never deserved that. I didn't reply. I wasn't celebrating. I didn't feel triumphant or vindicated. I felt tired and sad and very quiet. My family had made their choices, one by one, over years. They had decided I wasn't worth including, wasn't worth consulting, wasn't worth treating as an equal member of the family. Now they were living inside the consequences of those decisions. And so was I, because even having been proved right about all of it, I had still lost my family. 6 weeks after Daniel's sentencing, Patricia Hallraid called. Miss Pierce, good news. The court has approved redistribution in line with your grandmother's original will. What does that mean in practical terms? It means you'll receive your designated £250,000. The amount has been preserved in a separate ring-fenced account since the investigation began, so it is fully intact. It will be transferred to you within the next 30 days. I hadn't expected that. I had assumed it was gone with the rest. There's one further matter, Patricia added. You have legal standing to pursue your parents and Daniel for the full original sum plus interest and damages. Given the documented circumstances, you would have a strong case. I looked out of my flat window at the Leeds skyline, gray and cool and familiar. How long would that take? 2 to 3 years, possibly longer. And given the assets currently being liquidated to cover Daniel's legal costs, the amount recoverable may be limited. I don't want to pursue it, I said. The £250,000 is what Gran intended for me. That's enough. Patricia paused. You're certain? I'm certain. All right, I'll arrange the transfer. Thank you, Patricia, for all of it. The money arrived on a Tuesday morning in November. I was at my desk when the notification came through. I stared at the number on the screen for a long time. £250,000. I had expected to feel something large, relief, satisfaction, some version of vindication. Instead, I felt very still, and underneath the stillness, something that felt like grief. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother, so you've got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it. Not I'm sorry, not we were wrong, not I wish we'd been different. Just bitterness delivered in a single line. I put the phone back on the desk and didn't respond. Daniel sent nothing. My father texted 3 days later, "Your mother is struggling, I hope you're satisfied." I looked at that message for a long time, then I put the phone away. My cousin Lydia messaged a week later. "Hey Rosa, I don't know everything that happened, but I know things weren't fair on you for a long time. I'm glad Gran's money got to you in the end, she'd have wanted that." That message undid me more than anything else had in months. Harriet texted as well, "I've been thinking about you. I know you've been through a lot, you should be proud of how you handled it. You stood your ground." I realized then that the people who had actually seen me, clearly, without agenda, had been on the edges of things all along. Watching the dynamics, witnessing the casual diminishment year after year, and quietly waiting to say what my own parents never would: "You deserved better." I didn't need my family's acknowledgement to know that was true, but I was grateful to hear it said. I took 3 weeks to think carefully about what to do with the money. The first thing I did was clear my remaining mortgage balance, £63,000. I transferred it on a Wednesday morning, and by that afternoon the balance read zero. I had bought the flat myself. I had paid it off myself. It was entirely mine. Next, I set up a bursary in my grandmother's name with Northgate University, the same university that had given me my degree when my parents couldn't or wouldn't help. The Vera Pierce Bursary for first-generation finance students. £40,000, structured to provide £4,000 annually to 10 students who were doing it without family financial support. Students who needed someone to believe the numbers could work in their favor. The remaining balance I put aside, not for anything specific, for security, for options, for the quiet knowledge that I had breathing room if I ever needed it. I didn't announce it, I didn't post about it, I didn't tell my family. That evening, I wrote a letter I knew I would never send. "Dear Gran, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for deciding, long before any of this happened, that I was worth something. I've used your gift carefully, some for myself, some for people who are where I was at 21, doing it completely alone. I think you'd approve. I miss you. I miss the person who knew, without being told, that I was all right. With loves, Rosa." I folded it and placed it in the same drawer as the printed copy of her will. 6 months after I received the money, I sat in my flat on a Saturday morning and thought about that room in Harrogate, the oval table, the 3 empty folders that hadn't been prepared for me, the chair placed furthest from everyone else. I used to think that was the worst of it, the clearest possible moment of being told I didn't belong. But sitting here now, I understood something I couldn't have seen then. That room wasn't where I lost something. It was where I stopped waiting to be included in something that had never truly had space for me. The years I had spent trying to earn my family's acknowledgement, sending cards, making journeys, showing up, swallowing the hurt, saying nothing about the things I noticed, none of that had worked because acknowledgement was never what was on offer. The offer was always conditional. The terms were always Daniel's. And the moment I stood up in that office and walked out, something stopped. The waiting stopped, and something else, quieter and slower but permanent, began. I didn't win in the way that word usually means. I didn't recover my family. I didn't receive an apology. I didn't get the years back, but I got something I hadn't had before. I got the version of myself who is not waiting for anyone else to decide her worth. The version who sits in her own flat, in the city she chose, doing work she is genuinely good at, and feels, for the first time, like this is simply her life, and it is enough. And that is the only thing I actually needed. If any part of this has reached you, if you know what it is to be dismissed by people who were supposed to be in your corner, please leave a comment. I want to know that you're out there. And if you feel this story was worth your time, please like this video, subscribe to Storm After Silence, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. There are more stories like this one waiting in the description below. I will see you in the next one. One more thing. 3 weeks ago, a letter arrived. Handwritten, my mother's writing on the envelope. I left it on the kitchen counter for 5 days before I opened it. She wrote about the party they had thrown, about watching Daniel's life unravel and understanding, slowly, what their choices had set in motion. She wrote about a conversation she'd had with Lydia, and then with Harriet's mother, and about beginning to see, from the outside, what it might have looked like to be me. She didn't use the word sorry, not directly. But she wrote, "I think we got some things very wrong, Rosa. I think we didn't see you the way we should have." I read it twice. I folded it carefully. I put it in the drawer with the letter I'd written to Gran and the copy of the will. I haven't replied, not yet. But I didn't throw it away. And I think that means something, even if I can't quite say what yet. The choice, when I'm ready to make it, will be entirely mine.